Hey, friends! You know, Amazon has unleashed their take on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Amazon's Power of the Rings. But it's not really Tolkien, it's more of a thin veneer of his work, covering a putrid cesspool of modern-day identity politics. Ugh. But if you're a fan of Tolkien and you still want some new Tolkien without being forced to sit through the Rings of Power, what is a true fan of Tolkien to do? Well, naturally, you go to Peter Jackson's trilogy, the extended editions, of course, for your true and honest fix adapting the great scribe's work. Or you may watch Jackson's overlong and flawed Hobbit trilogy, which is still more in keeping with the work of Tolkien than the Ring show. But let's say you've rewatched those already. Now what? Will you be forced to watch a show that isn't really Tolkien, not even in name only? No. Why? Because your old pal Barkey Dog has your back. This time we're looking at alternatives to the Rings of Power that truly honors J.R.R. Tolkien's great masterpiece, and all of these are in animated form. First off, you start here, The Hobbit from 1977, created by the great Rankin and Bass. This one is a bit condensed, but very well animated, and it has these lovely watercolor backgrounds too. It also features an all-star cast. Orson Bean is Bilbo Baggins, John Huston is Gandalf, you've got Richard Boone as Smaug, Hans Conried as Thorin Oakenshield, Otto Preminger is here, as is Paul Frees, Don Messick, and Thurl Ravenscroft. And singer Glenn Yarborough provides some music as well. The usual suspects from Rankin and Bass are here, such as composer Murray Laws and writer Romeo Mueller. This one gives us a good interpretation of The Hobbit, and unlike Amazon's Power of the Rings, you can sit your kids in front of it and not worry about what they'll see. Next up, how about this film, The Lord of the Rings from 1978. This is the one created by the legendary Ralph Bakshi. This covers the Fellowship of the Ring all the way up through the Battle of Helm's Deep from the Two Towers. Much of this film was done in a rotoscope process, animating over live action. That gives the feature a fairly unique look, although I wouldn't call it a timeless look. At 2 hours and 12 minutes, it was the longest animated feature ever made up to that point. In our cast, we have John Hurt as Aragorn, Andre Morell as Elrond, and Anthony Daniels, C-3PO himself, as Legolas. You'll also hear Billy Barty doing some additional voices. Originally, this would have been 3 movies, one for each book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but that didn't pan out, and the producer refused to pony up for the third and final segment, which is why the movie ends the way it does, with Sam and Frodo about to go into Mordor. Peter Jackson tipped his hat to this production several times when making his epic trilogy, and Tim Burton got his start working on the animation for this picture. This one's still okay for kids. True, it's a bit more mature, and the orcs are a little scarier, although there's no real gore compared to the stuff on TV today. Bakshi never got the money to finish the project, which is why our old friends Rankin and Bass took up the challenge in 1980 and finished the story with The Return of the King, picking up where Bakshi left off. Perhaps they were just cashing in, but hey, they get a pass because they were Rankin and Bass. Darn Skippy. Orson Bean, John Huston, Paul Frees, and Don Messick are back, and the cast includes William Conrad, Roddy McDowall, Casey Kasem, and Theodore Bickel. Glenn Yarborough returns to voice the music. This is probably the weakest entry of the three, but even so, it's still better than the Rings of Power because it follows the original source material, honoring it instead of crapping on it like Amazon's Rings will no doubt do. All three are worth a watch and more deserving of a watch than the Amazon show. While condensed, all three honor J.R.R. Tolkien's work. The Hobbit I'm giving 3 paws. It's an excellent standalone version of the story. Lord of the Rings is also a 3-paw picture, ambitious and unique. Return of the King is maybe 2 1/4 paws, but it completes the story. All 3 of these are animated, and yet they still have more reality to them than the soulless CGI of the Amazon Rings of Power show. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.